Hello, folks, and welcome back to Birth and Baby Talk. I'm Leanne Palmerston,
I am Meaghan Grant.
And this week we are talking about setting boundaries as new parents. This is a big challenge for a lot of people.
This
What
is
do
a
you
big
think?
challenge for people who aren't just new parents.
No,
This has been the theme in therapy for me for months now, because
no kidding.
setting boundaries is a big deal. It's hard, it's complicated, and for the new parents out there are like 10 added layers of complications when there is a new baby or a young baby involved, because everybody wants to see the baby. Everybody wants to give advice about the baby. And for new parents who are already exhausted, who are already, sleep deprived and healing and dealing with parenting and pregnancy during a pandemic, setting more boundaries can feel really, really overwhelming. So this is not, just specific to new parents, but there are definitely added layers when you are a new parent.
Absolutely. And I mean, right now we're coming up on the holidays. We're right in the thick of it. We've just been going through Hanukkah, and we are about to come into the Christian holidays, which are really intense here in North America. So, there is an intense pressure for families to be getting together, to be sharing and exchanging gifts and having meals together. And that's not going to feel comfortable for a lot of people. And on top of that, we in Ontario here are looking at heading into another lockdown or a modified lockdown because of the very real issue that the Omicron variant is bringing up for folks, because it is wildly more contagious. Thankfully, I think it's less medically impactful than previous variants. However, it just makes everybody more sick, which just is going to complicate everything for everyone. So, as you not only have you've got a new baby or you're pregnant with a baby who's coming sometime soon, and you've got the regular pressure of new parenting boundaries on you. But you've also got this other stuff complicating everything and just making it. I mean, I get it. Like, we're all really, really fatigued from 2 years now of limiting our contact with our extended families, our friend networks. And, if we have parents in particular, new grandmas and grandpas are probably getting really frustrated too. So, what can we do about this, Meaghan?
Well, and I mean, it's understandable. As you said, we've all limited everything. And now, what I'm seeing online in parenting groups and from our clients is people who thought we were sort of through the worst of it and started making holiday plans that they are now questioning. Travel plans, the government just came out advising against non-essential travel again, which, let's be honest, visiting family is non-essential in most circumstances. It may not feel that way, but by definition it does fall under non-essential travel. So we're looking at people who had made plans that are maybe now having to reconsider them. That can be a really awkward boundary to set, because you kind of already set a boundary and now you're moving it. And so the first thing that I think that, Leanne, you and I talk about when we talk to clients about setting boundaries is know what your boundary is and be on the same page with your partner. This is like super important. This is like boundaries 101 when it comes to parenting. And this isn't even a pandemic boundary. This is a, in-laws your own parents who, we didn't do that when you were a child and you made it out just fine. And, just the general advice and unsolicited comments that come about when you are in contact with family members and there's a new baby involved. So, the first thing that I always tell people to do is be really clear on what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, and be on the same page with a partner, because
Mhm.
there are times when tag teaming it is going to be the best approach. There are times when letting the person deal with their own parents is the best approach. But really, if you and your partner are not on the same page when it comes to family boundaries regarding parenting or your baby or pregnancy or whatever, that's just another source of conflict. It creates confusion. One person is telling family members something, you're telling them another. It just adds layers of complication. And this is where sort of fights and resentment and, ill feelings start to come into play, especially 2 years after not seeing everybody and, wanting to really look forward to those moments. That confusion, that inconsistency between parents can really create stressors around boundaries. So that's sort of the
Absolutely.
first thing we, highly recommend you do. Be clear and be consistent between the two of you.
Absolutely. And I think it's important too to recognize the fact that when people offer advice, and now people offer, and offering advice is not a new phenomenon. However, the ways in which people get access to us in order to offer us that advice have changed. So 20 years ago, if you were having a child, you might not run into your annoying Aunt Linda only 1 or 2 times a year, maybe at your baby shower, and then again, like at a family meal, right? Coming up on Christmas or something. And so your chance to be given advice from the lovely Aunt Linda, it was limited, and you would know it was coming up and it would be okay. But these days, you post a cute picture of your baby and you think it's completely innocuous and everyone's just going to love it. And then Aunt Linda says, "Oh, I see there's a bottle in that picture. Aren't you breastfeeding? I thought you were going to be breastfeeding. Breast milk is best for babies." And so, there are just opportunities uh, aplenty. And not just that, there's like every person that you've never even met is available to offer you advice. So not only is Aunt Linda trying to offer you advice, but like George, who you used to work with for 6 months, who you friended on Facebook, is also now going to tell you all about his and his partner's experience and what they think you should do. It's funny because, when people get pregnant, they're like, "Oh my God, everyone's telling me, like, you should get an epidural, you should have a home birth, you should do the following." And then, you come home with your baby and you think, "Well, finally I'm safe from that." But then it starts again with, you should be doing this. You should be giving that baby a bottle of milk so they'll sleep properly. Whatever it happens to be. And then it just goes on. Like, by the way, hi, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it just, for the next 20, 30 years of your life, people are going to tell you basically you're parenting wrong and how you should do it better according to them. And they don't have any expertise. They don't have any stake in the matter. They're not going home with your 2-day old, 2-week old, 2-year old, 20-year old to take care of them. So it's easy for other people to give advice. And as a parent, that's one of those skills that we need to learn real quick, is how to put our foot down, and allow people to give us advice, maybe, but allow that advice not to necessarily impact us negatively. And so one of the important things is to remember that when your lovely Aunt Linda or your former coworker George offers you some advice, they're trying to make your life better. Like, they genuinely are. Well, I'm okay. I will caveat that.
Yeah, I was saying you're being awfully generous there, Leanne.
I'm being very generous with people, but generally people really want you to have as good an experience as possible. We often say with breastfeeding, people, know, offer feeding advice. They say, "Hey, painful in the," what they really mean is that it is normal, it hurts. It will get better. Like people want to help you. They want to give you helpful information, but sometimes that helpful information is not actually helpful to you. And when it is completely unsolicited, it has the bonus of also being kind of annoying when people are overstepping themselves to offer this information to you.
And that sort of brings up the second piece of advice that we like to give, which is it is okay to change the price of what it costs to access you. It is okay to limit who can see your social media, who can see pictures of your baby. It's okay to say to people, this is not a topic of conversation I am interested in continuing. Please stop. It's okay to not answer Aunt Linda's text. I have to laugh at that one because I actually have an Aunt Linda. So now I will say Aunt Linda is wonderful and does not offer unsolicited advice. However, I was chuckling over that. But it's okay to say to Aunt Linda or to George, this is not an appropriate thing to say to a new parent. Please stop. It's okay to back away from certain relationships, even with family, if they are not serving you. It's okay to say the price of access to me has gone up. And this is a really hard one for new parents because, frankly, the cost of accessing you from your baby has decreased like all the way down to a whimper. But it's okay to put those barriers in place with other people and other relationships. Relationships are not there to be stressors for us. Relationships are there to be a mutual exchange of giving and taking. And if that is not happening in some of your relationships right now, it's okay to say, even if it's just around the holiday season, you know what, Aunt Linda, I love you. I love chatting with you, but the next couple of weeks are really crazy. Why don't we connect in January?
Yes.
And put a full stop on it. It's okay to say stop. It's okay to back away. And if Aunt Linda keeps coming back to you or George doesn't know when to shut his mouth, it's okay to mute them, to not answer to them, to even like block them or remove them on your social media if that's what you need to do. It is okay to change the price of access. You are valuable. Your time is valuable. And particularly when you're pregnant or you have a young baby, your energy is at a premium. You want to spend it in places that are going to give back to you. Not necessarily like an equitable exchange, but just in terms of filling your cup, making you feel appreciated, making you feel valued. Those are just as important as everything else that's happening at this time of year. And so it's okay to say, if you are not serving me, this relationship isn't serving me, I need to take a pause on this relationship.
Absolutely. And I always say to my clients and my students that I teach, I always say, like, I'm going to offer you a free service. And that free service is I'm your doula forever. And you can always make any rule you want to for yourself and your family and your baby. And then tell the people that you feel uncomfortable asserting yourself with that your doula actually made that rule and you're just following your doula's advice because your doula has her finger on the pulse of what the latest recommendations are. So
same.
We had this happen once. I remember a lovely client of ours 2 years ago. She was very nervous about having a baby in February, right in the middle of RSV and flu season. And she had read an article about RSV and newborns that really shook her. And she decided, after having a conversation, she decided, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a rule that for the first 6 weeks, no one has physical access to my baby. Now, this is before any, like COVID or anything was on our radar. So completely independent of what we know now about virus transmissibility, she was thinking, my baby, I really, really want to create a bubble around my baby to keep us all very, very healthy and safe. And I do not want to ever take any risks with that very young baby who has a very immature Oh,
Respiratory system.
yeah. Uh,
It's
immune
the end of the
system.
year.
So yeah, that very young baby who had an immune system. And so I said, if you feel uncomfortable talking about this with people, let them know that I said that that's the recommendation. That just say like, oh, my doula said during the winter months when, flu rates and things are really high, it's recommended that we do not allow anyone to kind of come meet the baby in person, but we're really looking forward to like having a little party afterwards, and inviting people to spend some time with all of us. And that caused some friction. I remember talking with her in the postpartum period and I said, how's it going? And she said, my parents are cool with it. They completely understand and they support me. My best friend, not so much. And she, had a rift in that relationship that lasted many months until her friend came to terms with the fact that her friend who, just could not access their baby in person. And so it can be hard. And yeah, so if you feel like you're having trouble asserting yourself, by all means, use Meaghan or I as your virtual doulas who have given you very, very important advice. You just create the advice. I will always co-sign it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do the same. I give my clients the same advice because you know what? In some ways, it's true. We do have our pulse on things that are more current. Now, normally that is around rice cereal in bottles and car seats. But there are times of the year, and the last 2 years in particular, where sometimes that advice is, the doula is co-signing is more around things like people need to be vaccinated or people need to take a rapid antigen test before coming over. That's something I'm seeing with a lot of families for the holidays is they're asking relatives to take rapid tests. They're asking people to cancel if they're not feeling well. They're limiting gatherings to fully vaccinated family members. And those are all perfectly acceptable limits and boundaries to put into place during a pandemic when you have a new baby or you're a parent. And if your friends and family don't take mine and Leanne's word for it, I mean, you have Dr. Tam and Health Canada and everybody else co-signing it too.
Yeah.
So you are you are very well supported on that. But feel free to appeal to that higher authority. It is not a bad thing to say, I am just following the recommendations of insert professional here. It can be your doula, it can be your baby's pediatrician, it can be your family doctor, it can be reputable internet sources. And by that, I mean Health Canada, the CDC, that sort of thing. We're not looking for, medicalkidnapping.com or whatever, which is actually a website. It is horrifying that I know what that is, but
Okay.
it's okay to appeal to authority. And again, that's sort of that third thing that we want you to remember. Appealing to authority is a perfectly legitimate debate tactic when it comes to these conversations. It's okay to not have all the information and say, I'm just following public health guidelines.
Yes, absolutely. So I think to help folks, I've got a step-by-step sort of guide for people. Now, the first one is to help you kind of deal with the folks who are offering unsolicited advice or, being a little too nosy. So the first thing we want to do is listen to the person's ask or their advice, right? So listen to Aunt Linda, hear what she has to say. There's no reason to be rude or, honestly, you don't owe anyone politeness. However, I find that politeness is a social lubricant that is very useful in these kinds of situations. So listen to that ask or the advice that is being offered, and then look for the positive intention underneath it or behind the offered strategy or the request for access. Listen to that. Hear the fact that they're trying to help, right? And we can acknowledge that and thank them for their concern and phrase it like that. Just say, Aunt Linda, I love that you're really concerned about us and you want to help. That means a lot to me. And then you can just leave it at that. And if Aunt Linda continues to talk about it, you can say, all right, thanks very much. I'm going to look into this more when I'm back home or when I have a few minutes of downtime when the baby's resting. But thanks a lot for your concern. And then ditch the guilt about not taking the advice, for feeling like maybe you're brushing Aunt Linda off. And of course, again, Aunt Linda is the stand-in for whoever is doing this with you. It could be your lovely neighbor who is normally the most helpful person, who maybe thinks that she wants to overstep her boundary a little to try to help you out when you bring your new baby home, or offer you advice that you're pregnant. And then when you're creating boundaries, you want to again think about this kind of methodically. So think about what your fears are. Like, what are your worries with regards to your baby? And people accessing your baby. Think about what your big fears are, and then think about what you are unwilling to do, and then think about what you are willing to do. So that might be, I am really worried that my baby, who is unable to get any kind of vaccination or anything, could potentially be exposed, which would make my poor baby very sick. Potentially also making me and my partner sick, which means we are unable to take care of our baby and at like serious risk because our immune systems are a little suppressed because we're trying to take care of a brand newborn baby, right? So you want to think about those things, and you can say, okay, so I am worried about people. The thing that I'm unwilling to do is have anyone touching my baby or be near my baby if they have no vaccinations or they don't yet have their booster.
Yeah.
And then you can say, all right, the thing I'm willing to do is I'm willing to let people into my home but not touch my baby. And they have to wash their hands and sanitize. They have to have a mask, and they have to be completely boosted in order to meet my baby in person. But we won't be actually touching the baby. I will hold the baby, and you can sit across the room and be with us and maybe help us or bring us a lovely gift if that is, what people want to do. So you think about those things, and that starts to build your rule for yourself. And then codify that into something you can clearly define to other people. You can say quite easily, so what the rule is we're only allowing people to come after we've been home for 2 weeks with the baby. Everyone has to have all 3 vaccinations on board. They will wear masks, but they will not be able to touch baby. So that's our rule. And we're going to have short visits. So we're going to have really limited times where we can welcome people into our homes. And we're going to kind of try to book that like appointments. That way, we want to help other people meet our baby and support us, but we also want to do our best at, keeping our baby safe. Now, by the way, this is an example. You can make any version of this that you want. But, to illustrate the point, there, I think, is a cautious but not super confrontational kind of rule to create. And then you want to make sure you communicate that. Now, if baby's not yet here, start communicating that right away. Yeah. Go ahead, create like an email template for yourself and then send it off to everyone you know. Send it by text, send it by social media messaging, or post it on your social media and say, hey guys, as the holidays are coming up, here is our rule. We're just putting it out there. We want to be able to see people, but we also want to keep ourselves safe. And here's how we've decided we're doing it.
And I want to jump in really quickly and point out, we're talking about this right now in the context of the pandemic in particular. Yes. But this is actually advice that I give to a lot of new clients. When I do my prenatal and we talk about, the postpartum period, one of the first questions I ask is, what are the expectations of extended family and how are you planning to manage them? So this is a boundary that is relevant regardless of pandemic, global health status, it is okay to have limited access to your baby in those early newborn days, because let's be real, pandemic or not, parenting a brand new baby is exhausting. And you
Mhm.
don't want, great Aunt Linda to come hang out in your living room for 6 hours and expect to be catered to, because you want a nap and your stitches are itchy and like your boobs are leaking, and nobody needs great Aunt Linda there. Well, like, you're leaking from every orifice of your body. Like, so it's okay to have this kind of schedule and boundary and expectation around extended family, regardless of pandemic status, regardless of
Absolutely.
holidays. This is just good newborn early parenting advice.
Exactly. And so the rules, yeah, outside of the context of a pandemic, the rules could maybe look more like, yes, we're welcoming people on Saturday afternoon between 2 and 4. We're just asking for folks not to stay more than about 30 minutes. And if we everything's been so stressful. So if you come over, we have a list of things that you can help out with around the house, or you can bring over like a meal with you or something that, to help nourish us as we spend all our time taking care of our baby. All kinds of those rules, like versions of them mashed up together, are great ideas to help you get what you need, help you, but like in multiple senses, so that not only are you taken care of, but your whole desire to take care of your family, to keep them well and safe, is also supported by your extended family and friends.
Yeah.
And then get really comfortable saying no. This is really hard, right? I'm Canadian. I'm a Canadian woman of a certain age, and I was not socialized to say no very easily. So get comfortable saying, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for us right now. Thanks so much, though. And then move on, and again, ditch the guilt. Do not feel guilty about asserting yourself as a parent and doing everything you need to do to make your life work and keep your family safe and healthy.
If you check out the Family Doulas of Ottawa Instagram for today, today's picture is "No is a complete sentence." And this is what we're encouraging people to embrace. It is okay to say no. I had a whole conversation with someone recently, Leanne, about how saying sorry is this like ubiquitous Canadian thing that we just all do. I say sorry when someone hands me my coffee in the drive-through. Don't ask me why. This is like that whole sort of deferential way of talking is a very Canadian culture sort of
Mhm.
phenomenon. And it's okay. Obviously, we don't necessarily ascribe the same guilt to the word sorry that other cultures do,
Yeah.
but we do have a lot of guilt when it comes to sharing access with ourselves. So saying no, being comfortable with saying no, practicing saying no. This is something I had to do. And I like full out look in a mirror, or, recording myself on my phone, practicing ways of saying no that come across as polite but assertive. You
Mhm.
don't have to say off to great Aunt Linda, but you can say, that's not going to work for me this week, this month, this year. I appreciate the invitation. So, finding those ways of saying no, it's a little bit antithetical to how we as Canadians sort of
Mhm.
interact with each other. And I think we're all out of practice with like social niceties and norms these days. But it's a really good thing to practice doing and get comfortable saying, because it's not something that women are taught to do very well or very often. And it's not something that as Canadians we do in a particularly healthy way all the time. So definitely something to work on and get used to and get familiar with, especially because listen, the no, you can't touch that, no, you can't have that, no, you can't lick that is your future in so many ways. So
Yeah,
getting practice now is just going to serve you in those toddler years. Those days are coming.
exactly. So thank you. I hope you found a practical solution to resolving, like, or dealing with some of your worries about people having access to you, having access to your baby, potentially, like dealing with the ongoing advice that we all seem to just be thrown at all the time. So we hope that you are able to figure out for yourself some rules around you and your family, and how you're going to kind of keep them comfortable and safe, both now during the pandemic and ongoing in your whole life. And again, my name's Leanne. That's
And
Meaghan.
now,
We're your doulas if you need us. Okay, I'm telling you, send your mom to me. I'll give her all the info.
Yep. Now, we are setting our own boundaries for the next few weeks. We are taking the last scheduled birth and baby talk, which would have been December 29th, off so that we can spend time with our family and friends. It has been a very long 2 years for everybody, and we are also looking forward to some downtime. But we will be back the 5th of January. I don't know. Oh, no.
We'll be back on the 12th of January.
The 12th of January. There you go. Chatting about just sort of like re-going into lockdown, post-holiday blues, winter blahs, what you can do in the dark, cold, gray days of January when, frankly, we're all back stuck at home. So make sure you come back January 12th. Join us for that. If you have been a long-time subscriber to our show or to our newsletters, remember a number of our promo codes are expiring December 31st. So if you are looking for maternity clothes from Sunday the Label, if you are looking for mesh panties from Hey Moon Mama, those codes expire on the 31st. So you want to order those before the end of the year. Everybody have a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year, and we will see you in, gosh help us all, 2022.
Bye, folks.